Hi, friend.
Hi.
I'm so excited you're here. This is so fun.
I am so excited.
Not only is this like my first podcast interview for the podcast, but this is my first time meeting you, even though I feel like we're like close friends.
Yeah.
Like it's been 6 months now probably that we've been working together, been friends on TikTok. Okay. Everyone meet Tabitha. I'm so excited for you to get to know her and hear from her today. I'm going to just share quickly how I met you on TikTok, and then I want to hear your story on your healing journey, wellness, all the things. Okay. So I met you on my For You page, and it was a time in my life where it was like very stressful for us. We were planning on moving back to California. It was just a stressful season in our lives. And I am like Miss Wellness Girl. Like everyone knows me for being so healthy, how I eat, working out, like all my little health hacks. But I was dealing with a lot of bloating, and I was something that's kind of easy to hide, right? You just wear baggy clothes, but I felt so self-conscious of it because I was like, I'm the health girl, like I'm wellness girl. Why am I dealing with this? And so I remember seeing your video on the For You page, and it was like something about dealing with the root cause of your issue with bloating. And I literally, like, some people be like, okay, whatever, but it was really God speaking to me, truly, of being like, you need to follow this girl, reach out to her, and basically be her friend and work with her. And so that's how I met you, via TikTok.
I love it.
I know.
It's so fun.
Yeah. And then I started my TikTok journey, and you've done so amazing on there. And I just love the truth that you are sharing on there that not a lot of people are sharing about. So I'm so excited to get you on here today to share some of that with us. So, okay, tell us about you. Tell us about you, your journey. You were not in wellness just a few years ago. So, tell us a little about who you are. Introduce yourself.
So I'm Tabitha Zavala. I live in Ventura County, California, and I grew up, I would say my mom was very healthy, not to the extent of my journey, but she always made our pasta. She would go to the farmer's market. She would drive to a market in the valley, which was like 25 minutes away, to get certain foods so she was very health conscious, and she made everything from scratch. And so that's kind of like the beginning of my journey. I was really aware of all that. And yeah, so fast forward to 2020 when COVID hit, I got just slammed with multiple chronic illnesses in bed. I had 3 little babies, and so I couldn't move my body. It just like literally hit me like a ton of bricks one day. And I thought I had COVID. So I didn't have COVID, and I started just going down this rabbit hole of wellness, right? It's such a rabbit hole on Instagram, on all the platforms. And I actually followed Dr. Jess. Do you know who she is?
No, I don't.
She sells like a parasite cleanse and all this stuff. And she talks a lot about opening your drainage pathways. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. I knew I wanted to go the holistic route. I had watched both my parents pass from cancer and go the medical route, and I just wanted to do something different. I didn't want to leave my children like my dad left us so young. And so I was very, very determined from the start. Like, I want to be healthy. I want to be able to pick up my babies. I want to be able to do baseball with them, like all the things, you know? So I reached out to a friend on Instagram who is like a holistic wellness influencer. And she said, you got to go to this biomagnetic therapist in Florida. So I started flying out to him. Meanwhile, trying all the things. I was plant-based at the time. I think I was on my 5th year of being plant-based.
Wow.
And doing all the celery juice in the morning. I mean, I was literally doing it all, taking all the supplements. And I think the one thing that stood out to me was the biomagnetic therapy. I ended up finding a therapist in California and doing that for about a year. So.
And at this time, were you working at this time?
I wasn't. I was in Rewind. I was in the fashion industry for 12 years.
Okay.
And I had my 2 boys. We lived in Burbank, and they were in, school full time or preschool full time. And it was really, really stressful.
Yeah.
My husband's a fireman, so he's gone for days at a time. He was also in an academy at that point, living in Pomona in an apartment to go through an academy.
Wow. So you weren't even seeing him at all at this point?
No. I mean, on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then on the weekends when he'd come home, he'd be studying. So like the weight of our household was on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So anyways, I started feeling these symptoms like while I was working full time, just, fatigue, bloating.
Yep.
I couldn't lose this baby weight. And that wasn't normal for me, and all these things that they say, oh, it's normal. Your hormones will go up and down after you have kids. Like all this stuff they say is normal is really not normal.
Yeah.
And so I really wasn't listening to my body. I was still pushing myself to the point of like full-blown exhaustion and burnout and adrenal fatigue. And I spoke to my husband and we're like, okay, we reached the point, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I became pregnant with our third and I'm like, I don't think I can do this with 3 kids full time.
Yeah.
And the stress of going to go pick them up at preschool that was an hour and a half away, and you had to be there by 6:00 or they like start charging you.
Wow. Yeah.
And so the traffic, just everything. So God was like, all right, you're done.
Yeah.
Like you did your thing.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
You guys got to buy a house with that, like, all the things. And now it's your time to be a mom. And it was really scary because my identity was fully in being a fashion designer. And so when I quit, I definitely had an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And I definitely had to fully lean on the Lord and trust. Like my income was half of our, half of our everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a journey with trusting.
So you
the
actually
Lord.
quit your job before you got sick?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then it was almost like your body's like, okay, now we can you're in survival mode for so long.
Now it's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like I was literally just running on fumes and my body wasn't even able to start having many symptoms because I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And I think the Lord revealed it in his timing, But yeah, so I quit. We moved out to the suburbs and I started feeling more symptoms. And then my mom passed away right a week before I had my daughter.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It was brutal.
Wow.
And so yeah, that whole thing was very difficult with family and everything and just the way it all went down. And then I had my daughter and the doctor at the hospital let me go the next morning because it was my mom's service.
Wow.
Yeah. So he let me go the next morning and I had a newborn at my mom's service. And literally after that, it was like my body was done. That was like the last little straw. And so COVID hit and I just felt all the symptoms. Like my whole body ached so bad, almost like the flu. Like, when you get the flu and your body aches. It was like that. Every 2 weeks, it was cyclical, like with a flare up.
Wow.
And so it would last about like 7 days. And then I could get up and like get a little bit of energy for a week. And then again, boom.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, they were like, you probably have COVID. Because at that point, they were just doing like the phone calls.
Right.
And then I called back and I was like, okay, I got it again. And he was like, well, you probably just didn't fully heal.
Oh my gosh. So you're thinking you have COVID for like a month.
Yeah. And then I knew.
Yeah.
I was like, there's something more to this.
Yeah.
So that's when I started going down the journey.
Wow. And then logistically, because I think not a lot of moms maybe struggle to that extent, but logistically, how did you take mom and take care of your kids when you were going through these crazy flare-ups?
It was literally the grace of God. I can't even explain it. I don't even know what they ate. There were days where I was literally just in bed. I am not sure what they ate. Probably just processed terrible food with inflammatory oils. No.
Yeah.
But I didn't have it in me. And so they did great. I mean, they figured it out and kids are resilient and smarter than we think.
Yeah.
And my daughter was only a year. So yeah, they would just lay in bed with me. We would watch movies.
Wow.
We really learned to slow down our life.
Yeah.
And God put my life on a halt, with COVID, with my health. And I think that's what I needed to wake up.
Yeah. And what a huge blessing that it was during COVID. It was just God used such perfect timing for you to slow. Everyone was slowing down,
Yeah.
And so for you to slow down. Wow. Okay. So you realized you didn't have COVID. There's something else going on. You go see a biomagnetic therapist. Other than seeing that therapist, what you were plant-based, so then you weren't plant-based. Tell me a little bit about going from being plant-based to not, how that was on your body, all of those things.
Yeah. So, through biomagnetic therapy, someone was muscle testing me, which is just your body either leans into something or leans away from it. And it's just a natural kind of reaction that your body has. And so they were testing me for different foods. And I started realizing, oh, this is weird. Like some of these vegetables aren't good for me. And so it just kind of started opening my eyes like, oh, wait, eating everything plants isn't always 100% great for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's so bio-individual. We all have different microorganisms. You know, we all have different chemistry. So not everything is going to work for one person. And so that's why I kind of have an issue with these fad diets because that way might be good for you, but everybody is so bio-individual.
Yeah.
And so I began to open my eyes to that and realize, wow, I actually really crave meat. And it's not these small regenerative farms that have an impact on our world. It's these huge factory farms.
Yeah.
And so my husband was like, well, you got this chronic, or you got hit with this chronic illness and you were totally plant-based.
Yeah. Like healthy.
What?
Yeah.
Like open your eyes. Like this isn't how you're supposed to eat.
Yeah.
And so I thought I did everything right. I was healthy plant-based.
Yeah.
I was not like going and eating
vegan mac and cheese, all that stuff.
Yeah. But there are a lot more inflammatory oils in vegan food in general, like the cheeses. And so I was eating more inflammatory oils. And that was another realization for me, was cut out the canola oil, the vegetable oil, only use avocado oil, tallow, butter, those things.
Yeah. So you slowly kind of lead me through, you know, you had your moment where you are like in bed with the kids, you're not doing much. Kind of lead me through, you start biomagnetic therapy. Like how do you slowly start healing and coming out of that? And then now you're a practitioner on yourself. Like kind of lead me through that journey for you.
Yeah. So it really was all God. I found a naturopathic doctor online. I found out about cell core biosciences, and I wanted to do a cleanse. I wanted a cleanse of toxins, and I started diving into that. And so she was incredible, and she taught me a lot about just the toxins that we're exposed to in our world. You know, aluminum, mercury, radiation, like I didn't even realize like we could have all these things, you know? So I was going to her, and she works all remote. So I started a whole supplement protocol, and it was like probably like 40 supplements a day.
Wow.
And sometimes more.
Wow.
And it was incredible. I learned a lot. Would I go back and do things differently? Yes. And that's why I share on social media, because I feel like I kind of went all different areas, and I feel like I want people to understand like the easier way.
And that's why you've made such a profound impact on me, because 10 years ago when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, it was 40 supplements a day. You're taking like 3 pills before you eat, 3 pills in the middle of your food, 3 pills after. Like it's this full science thing. And I felt really good, but I was literally eating nothing, like eating lettuce, and that's basically it. And my bloating, everything went away, but I wasn't eating anything, and I was taking 200 supplements a day. And it's like, that you can only do that for so long. Like that's not sustainable. And so that's why when I started seeing your work, I was like, oh my gosh, like this feels so freeing. And so like, getting to the root cause, it just was so different. And it was so different because you do a lot of like what people would call energy work. And that was so different for me, coming from like a conservative Christian background, and then talking to you, and you're like, oh, I'm a Christian. Like I love Jesus. I read my Bible every day. And I'm like, okay, but you do this like quote unquote energy work. And that seems so like voodoo or witchcraft or new agey, what, you know, where I grew up, what they would call it. But it's not that. I'd love to hear kind of how you got into that, and your take on, you know, the whole energy thing.
Yeah. So I started with this doctor who did remote muscle testing.
Okay.
And she loved Jesus. And I was like, wow, like you can just muscle test me with this pendulum via the phone and you love Jesus and it's all in the name of Jesus. And it really opened my eyes because I trusted her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of started diving more into that, realizing that as I was doing biomagnetic, magnets are energy, right? So it is this physical magnet, but it's a positive and negative charge.
Maybe explain biomagnetic energy or what that is. So someone who does no idea what is biomagnetic, therapy, explain that a little bit.
So I use like physical high Gauss magnets, and there's a positive and negative charge. Using the negative charge with muscle testing, you see where the body needs it, and it balances the pH, brings back homeostasis to your organs, systems, all that. So through muscle testing. And so, yeah, it is like a physical treatment that I was getting. And so realizing, wow, that's energy, and God created a magnet and God created the earth. The earth is a giant magnet. It's a negative charge. So wait, this is from God. And our heart is electric. Like just starting to dive into all these things. What is an MRI? It's magnets. How do you bring someone back to life? It's energy, right?
Wow.
It's an electric shock.
Yeah.
That's energy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, this is actually how God created our bodies. We have a positive and negative charge. That's energy. So I started just diving into that.
Yeah. That is so cool. And I think, when you explain it, it's like, oh, wow. Yeah. This isn't Western medicine, right? They're bringing someone back to life with these shockers things. But then when you talk about like what you do, it's like, oh no, but that's witchcraft. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
When it's all the same thing. And so, okay. So you start to feel better, I'm assuming, after you're doing all of these things. How long from like, rock bottom to like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better?
I would say a good year. I'm healing is not an overnight fix. It's years of trauma. So let's go back to childhood, traumatic childhood I had. So it's years of layers that the Lord was just like peeling off of me. And I always tell my clients, like, it's like an onion. Like, here's one layer today. Tomorrow, it's going to be another layer. If you did it all at one time, you probably wouldn't be here because that would be way too difficult for our body to even handle. So the Lord does it in layers, and it does take time. You have to be patient. It's not a pill. It's not a Band-Aid.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're starting to feel better and you're like, wow, this stuff works. You're diving into, the energetic field, all of that. When do you start to be like, oh, wait, maybe I can help other people and do this too?
I think I definitely realized I made a promise with the Lord, and I said, if you heal me, and this was probably a year into my journey, I'll help others. And it was this kind of, I don't know, this deal we made.
Yeah. And
I knew he could heal me, and I knew that my body was capable of healing because of how he's created us. So you watch a cut heal on your kids and you're like, wow, this is a literal miracle in front of my eyes. Wow, how does that even happen? Why can't that happen internally?
Wow. Yeah.
And it can. But we have to have the tools in order to do it, And
would you say also we have to have the belief? I feel like there's a lot of that like in the Christian community of like not really believing that healing is possible. Or maybe it's like, my dad had cancer, so I'm going to have cancer. Or like, I think it's the lack of belief that it's possible that maybe even keeps people from healing. Would you say that that's a contributing factor?
Yeah, 100%. It's been a part of my mindset. My journey is my mindset. And waking up in the morning, I would post all these Post-its on my wall, like, I am healed in Jesus' name. It's already done. It is finished. Like, and I would say these things every day. And I would say when I started doing that, probably a year into my journey, that was the biggest shift in my health. And I said, whoa, there is something to this.
Wow.
Yeah. So just saying I can heal. I'm already healed. My physical body needs to catch up. I'm spiritually healed. And just understanding that God will reveal the next layer to you, and it's not going to happen overnight. And you may say, oh, but I have the same flare-up symptom. But you're never going backward. As you're healing, you're always going forward. There's no 2 step forward, 1 step back. I don't like that. It's like you're always moving forward. you're never going back to the place you were when you were super toxic and full of trauma and emotions. You're never going back to that place.
Yeah.
You're constantly leaving those layers behind, and it takes time. But just knowing that in your head, I can heal, I will heal, it is possible. And just having that mindset, positive mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk about emotions, because you taught me about the emotion code, which has just changed everything for me. And so, you know, people are like, okay, you went to this biomagnetic therapy, you're learning about energy. Now let's talk about emotions, because that's such a huge part of your work now, right? Like the emotion code. And so kind of give us a brief cliff notes on like, what is the emotion code? What do you do? What is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, we all have stored emotions in different organs and systems in our body. Unfortunately, we're not given the tools, and most people don't understand. It's not anyone's fault. We just don't understand how to express an emotion, how to use our voice, how to explain to people how we feel. And so we're just storing these emotions inside of us, and they cause dis-ease in our body. So they get stuck in maybe your liver, and this anger that you had gets stuck in your liver, and it starts vibrating. Your liver will literally start vibrating at that frequency of the anger. And what do you think that does to your liver? It causes dis-ease. So I started learning how to release trapped emotions, and it was another game changer for my journey. For sure.
Yeah. And so you can mention the book. So the Motion Code is the book that you recommended for me, and you do that along your therapy, like with your remote clients and your in-person clients. That's kind of like part of the piece of the puzzle that you use. And it's been incredible for me. Like the Emotion Code is such an empowering tool because it's basically free, right? You just buy the book.
$14 book.
Yeah. And then, you know, get a magnet, like, and it's basic. Yeah. It's a very inexpensive way, but the effects that is profound. Like it's, I guess, what is your theory or thought on like, because I feel like God wasn't like, well, haha, all these people are going to have trapped emotions unless they buy this book, right? Like, what is your theory on like how we started getting trapped emotions? Like, is that, I'm assuming that's not God. I don't think that's God's design for our bodies, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's all living in a fallen world. I mean, it's a sinful world, and we hold on to this anger, we hold on to resentment, we hold on to bitterness. And that's part of sin. Yeah. So interesting. And that's been so profound. Like when I started working with you, because I guess I didn't mention that we've worked together, like I'm, you know, been your client. And when I started working with you, I'm like, okay, I take all the supplements. I have the best diet. I make my own bone broth. Like I have this wellness blog, right? Like I have this platform, and I'm still dealing with these symptoms. And I had never, ever heard about the emotional component of it. And I was like, oh yeah, I had a very traumatic childhood. I had, you know, all of these things happen, and learning that there is an emotional side to it and that there's something I can do about it has just been incredible. And so, and it's something that I feel like people just don't know about, but we're slowly getting there. I feel like, I think so too.
Yeah. I feel like there was that huge wave of, you know, all the supplements, all the fad diets. And I think people are starting to be like, oh wait, that's not working anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would come close to say that trauma and trapped emotions are number one in why you have a chronic illness.
Wow. Because
when those things are gone, you can drain the toxins. You can actually drain the pathogens, which pathogens meaning viruses, bacteria, parasites, funguses. They can actually leave your body. They thrive on the energy of emotions. So to me, emotions is number one in all of this. Yeah, it's been incredible for me. Okay, so what are some practical, so if someone's listening to this, they're like, okay, I can relate with, you know, I either have symptoms or a chronic illness, or I know I have trapped emotions. Like, what is a way that someone can, like, simple and practical ways that someone can get started, like, in their wellness journey without maybe flying to Florida and finding a biomagnetic therapy practitioner, or, you know, spending thousands of dollars, which we both have done on our wellness journey. But how can we help people just start today, like where they're at now? I would say number one, dive into calming your nervous system. you cannot even start to heal if you are stuck in this fight or flight. And you may not realize it. Maybe you have anxiety, or you hold your breath, or all these different signs and symptoms that you're stuck in fight or flight. You need to get out and figure out how. And there's so much information online on how to do that. I think it's really important to wake up, have a routine, quiet in the morning, do deep breathing, Wim Hof breathing, make a latte. Don't look at your phone. Like, do these really calming things in the morning to set the tone for your entire day. And that is huge. And then I would say, if you are struggling with the anxious aspect of it in fight or flight, like, quit the coffee for a little bit. Try it. I still have it sometimes. But I did go for a good year without it. And I feel like just starting your morning with a matcha or a cacao latte is a lot easier on your adrenals and your cortisol. So yeah, just getting out of fight or flight would definitely be something tangible that you could do. Getting the emotion code book is something you could absolutely do. And just your diet too. Like you were saying, is important. It's not the end all be all, but you can't be eating processed food and trying to heal. It has to be all together.
Yeah. So with diet, let's talk about it a little bit, because I feel like people are always like, what do I eat? And obviously it's bio-individual. Like, I saw one of your videos, like someone couldn't eat berries that you're working with. Like, it's all bio-individual. Is there like any type of framework, other than like don't eat seed oils, but like any type of framework of like, you know, that you could give someone of like, okay, this is a good place to start?
This is going to be controversial.
Okay.
But we need meat.
Yeah.
And we need good meat from a good farm, grass-fed, finished. I think there's amino acids in there that you cannot get from plants, and plant-based people will argue with that. But plant-based protein is not the same as animal protein. It's just not. So, and I know that's a controversial thing, and there's a lot of plant-based people out there, and I was as well, but I really think there's something about that that our body needs to heal. Yeah. So, and I would say like seed oils, and just whole foods. Just stay away from the center aisles in the grocery store. Shop the perimeter of the grocery store, and maybe don't do all the nut milks and all that is popular, because a lot of them are filled with glyphosate and fillers and gums and ingredients and seed oils. A lot of them have seed oils.
It's crazy. That's why I always like talk bad about oat milk on TikTok, and people like hate it. But I'm like, literally, it's like safflower oil, rapeseed oil. Like, these aren't even real things. They're just like manufactured oils put in this milk. I'm like, you're just like drinking that.
Yeah. They were made in that whole fad in the 80s that was like sugar-free aspartame. Yeah. It's crazy. You know? Yeah. And then let's talk a little bit about like, okay, so someone says, I'm helping calm my nervous system. I'm, eating a whole food based diet. Let's talk a little bit about cleansing, because that's a huge part of what you've told me to do. Like, again, it's so crazy how I feel like I was like in the wellness world for 10 years and I knew nothing. Like, and then I started learning about emotions and like parasite cleansing. I was the same though. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you open the door and you're like, wow. Yeah. This is crazy. So cleansing was a huge part of your journey, and it's a huge part of what you tell your clients to do. Yeah. So yeah, talk a little bit about what that is. So I would say, number one, calming your nervous system. You cannot even begin to cleanse if your nervous system isn't in this rest and digest. So number one, do that. Number two, before you cleanse, you have to open your drainage pathways. And you cannot open your drainage pathways in fight or flight. That's why I say number one, calm your nervous system. Number two, open your drainage pathways. What does that mean? It means when we are inundated with toxins, emotions, and pathogens, our liver gets stuck. It just does. It stops naturally like cleansing. And same with, our spleen, our lymphatic system, like all these different, obviously every single organ is useful. So open your drainage pathways. Like we've talked about, you could do castor oil packs, coffee enemas, Emotional cleansing, emotional work will help open drainage pathways.
I think I always say too, and I got this from you, is make sure you're peeing, pooping, and sweating.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're doing all those 3 every day, consistently. That means it has a good.
And do that for a good few months before you start a cleanse, because you will get so sick if you start a cleanse and your drainage pathways aren't open. And it's called a Herxheimer reaction. It means that these toxins and pathogens have nowhere to leave your body, to exit your body. How are they going to exit if your bowels aren't moving, if your liver is not moving, if your kidneys are stuck? It won't be able to go into you, but go into another organ and make you feel even more sick and kind of just go like this in your blood and in your lymphatic system. So yeah, it's definitely important to do that a few months before you start any type of cleanse.
Okay. And then once you feel like, okay, is there any like physical symptoms that you can be like, okay, my drainage pathways are open, or like I'm good to like start a parasite cleanse or any type of cleanse?
Yeah. Like you said, pooping, peeing, sweating, do that consistently for a couple months, even if you have to drink smooth mood tea because you can't just stop doing that and think it'll continue, because you haven't detoxed yet. So you have to keep doing those things throughout your entire cleanse. Keep peeing, pooping, and sweating throughout your entire cleanse, however you need to do that. Magnesium, sauna, all those type of things.
So then you've been doing that, and then you're like, okay, where do I start with cleansing? What would you say? You can tell it's the cleanse, that we use. What would you recommend?
Yeah. So the Parafy cleanse is, and I know you do that, right? Yeah. So that is a really gentle way to start. And to me, it's the best way. It's family friendly. So there's a kid's version on there too. And it's very gentle. Yeah. I think in the beginning, you don't want to I went really super hardcore. And looking back, that is definitely something that I would change in my journey. I mean, I wouldn't change anything, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I would guide other people in a different direction. Say, be gentle with yourself. Yeah. Like, God would be gentle with us, and he is gentle with us. And so we need to be gentle with our bodies. So I love Parafy. It's gentle, but it works, and it's efficient and effective.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, because I was so health conscious, I didn't really have that like couple month period of like make sure my drainage pathways are open. You also tested me and said that I could start the Parafy cleanse, but I did definitely felt like, I remember texting you, I was like, I'm so bloated, my stomach hurts. And some of those symptoms are to be expected a little bit, like you're killing off pathogens, and parasites. So that's to be expected a little bit, but the like binders, which comes with the kit, that helps too.
Yeah. Binders are huge. And the whole kit is for parasites, heavy metals, all those type of things. Toxins. Do Candida too. Yeah. She just came out with a mold cleanse. So that's exciting.
I like want to try it.
Are you going to try it? Yeah. I got it in the mail.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Excited.
I want to try it.
I know.
Okay. And so I feel like we've given a good, like, okay, where to start with your journey. And then if you feel like you need, like for you couldn't get out of bed, so you needed like some more support. So I feel like if you are in a place where you're having, multiple diagnoses or multiple things, and you've done all these things and you still, then that would be a time where you would want to reach out to like find a practitioner, right? What is someone like you would say? Because I feel like now there's so many type of like natural, right? Like what would you recommend when looking for like functional medicine doctor or natural doctor or like homeopathic, like what, all those things? What would you recommend looking for someone to help you?
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to have a connection. I would call around. I tell people like call around and talk to people, interview people. Don't be afraid to do that. Do you connect with them? Like, does it resonate with you? And so, but I 100% would say start with the emotional. Find somebody who can help you with the trauma and the emotions. You can't do anything without that. Yeah. So I think to me, that's number one.
I love that. I love this so much. Let me look at my notes. I think I asked all of my questions. Is there anything else I didn't ask you that you feel like is important to share or like you want to talk about with the whole healing journey?
Yeah. I mean, I think we should go back to the Christian and energy.
Yes. I was just thinking, yes.
We've had some people like accuse us of doing witchcraft and they're Christians. And I think it depends like who your source is from. You know, like we already talked about previously, how scientifically our bodies work off of energy. So wouldn't it make sense to shift your health in the energy field? That's how God created it. So who's your source? Who gives you, you know, who's guiding you? The Holy Spirit? Like, who are you doing this through? Are you giving the glory to God? I will never literally ever take glory for anything. I just can't. Like, God has healed me, and he brought me through this journey, like we were talking about before. And he gets all the glory. Like, I don't take any credit, because he's literally led me down this path, and it's been like Holy Spirit breathed. So I just think, like, to me, Satan stole energy, and it works without God, because God created it, and that's how our bodies work. So we need to we're in a season of taking back what's ours and what's God's. And so I think we need to own this and take it back.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah. And because I totally agree with what you're saying. Satan took the energy and like, oh, let's make like psychics, new age things, you know, the Reiki, all of those things that are very considered new age. But it's like, God's the creator of everything. He created the energy. Like, yeah, Christians need to take that back and say, no, like, in the name of Jesus, these things are from God. And we're not going to, you know, be like this big healer of I'm doing it. It's not us, it's God.
Right. Exactly. And I think too, like, everything energy, like you said, gets lumped with the psychic. And we know in the Bible, like, that's not okay. Yeah. So then it's like, oh, all of this must not be okay. But that's not truth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I loved when you said, it was my call with you of like, do I want to work with you? And you were like, in the Bible, like, I read the Bible and I see energy everywhere. Like, that was really cool when you said that, because it's so true. Like, the verses, like, you know, what is it? Something words is like healing to the bones. I'm not gonna like quote scripture, because I don't want to misinterpret it, or I don't want to say the wrong verse. But there's so many verses that are like allude to healing. Yeah. With emotions and
and it's all in there.
Yeah, it is.
And to me, I think one thing I would like to add in is a huge thing, going back to the mental part of it, is that I read the book and the Bible in a literal way now. Like, the Bible says your words are life or death, and you're literally cursing yourself if you speak death over yourself, which is negative talk. He created you. You're a child of God. You're made in his image, and you're talking like that about yourself. What do you think it's going to do to you? Yeah. So we choose life or death. Our power is in the tongue, and we get to choose every single day. That shifted my health, because I knew, okay, I can't say I have this. I don't have it. That's not a God-given thing that he gave me as a daughter of the King. Yeah. And I'm almost cursing myself by saying I have da-da-da-da. No, I don't. I'm walking through this journey. It's not me. It's not who God created me to be, but he's going to teach me something through it. So what do I need to learn? How can I grow through this? And how can I help other people?
And do you think healing is possible for everyone, no matter what they have?
I think God is in control. Yeah. So I think, you know, I've had clients pass away, but what's cool to see is at the end of their life is so much happier and less painful. So yeah, we don't get to choose, but ultimately it's God's choice. But how do we want to live the end of our life is important too. So do you want to be in pain? There's things you can do. And then God can choose to do a miracle, or he can choose to take you on this long journey because you're stubborn. Yeah. You know,
again, going back to the emotions, he's like, I want to heal you, but you're just staying stubborn. So,
So I don't know. God is in control, but I think too often Christians say, well, God would take it away if he wanted to. So I'm just going to live like this. No. He's created our body so perfectly and beautifully that if given the right tools, you can heal. Yeah. And we just give up.
Mm-hmm.
And we have such little faith, you know, and if we just had faith one morning, just wake up and have faith and say, I am healed, and then take it one day at a time. Literally, you can't look at the future and just realize like how powerful that is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So good. This is so good. Okay. I think I just have 5 rapid fire questions for you and we're good to go.
Okay.
Okay. First one, what did you eat for breakfast this morning?
Oh no.
That's okay. So
Cottage cheese.
That's good.
And berries.
That's a good breakfast.
Right?
I
got it. Yeah. I usually eat quick things, or I'll do like a couple eggs, or
yeah,
I don't know. Quick.
Protein and then breakfast.
Yeah, protein.
Yeah. Protein. So either that's cottage cheese, berries, eggs, something like that.
Yep.
Okay. What is your current favorite beauty product?
Ooh, I'm going to have to say it's the blush you told me to get.
Really?
What does that say?
Say or sigh. I don't know.
Say?
I think say. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It's good, right?
Because you can use it on your lips and your cheeks.
Yes.
I love it.
I'm a cream blush all the way.
Yeah. Like I've never used a cream blush.
Yeah. I won't go back now.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
No.
I'm so glad you like it. Okay. I like this question because I thought of this question because I thought of my great grandmother, and she would tell me, if you take one thing from me, I want it to be that I want you to be content in all circumstances. And so I thought of this question of like, what is the one thing, one piece of advice that you would tell your future grandkids, or that you would, the legacy you want to leave? What do you want them to be like? I remember Tabitha from this.
She was faithful with all she had, faithful to the Lord with everything that she had, with her money, with her children, with her marriage, that I was faithful and trusted the Lord.
I love that. That is so cool. That's powerful. Okay. Switching gears. What is your go-to easy dinner? Like you're like, I don't have time, but I want something healthy-ish. What's your like go-to?
Oh, tacos.
Tacos. Okay. Yeah. So just like
beef tacos.
Yeah. That's so easy. It's easy, but it doesn't feel easy to me because like I feel like if I'm doing tacos, it's like, okay, you gotta have the salsa and the avocado and the cheese. There's like and the lettuce. There's like so many parts to tacos. Yeah. How do you make tacos easy? Do you just have all that all in the fridge?
Well, my kids are very simple with it.
Okay.
So I'll just cut up tomatoes. I always have avocados and tomatoes.
Yeah.
Avocados, tomatoes, and beef. I make it really simple.
Yeah, that's good. Last one. If you could only do one thing for your wellness, like you could only do one thing, what would it be?
Calm my nervous system with emotional drainage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. This was such a good first
so
interview.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh. So much gold in this message. I'm so excited for people to hear it. Where can people hear more from you?
Yeah, I mainly share on TikTok, Tab Restored, and I have an Instagram as well. And
if someone wants to work with you, they can get your info there.
Yeah. You
do work remote.
Yep.
You're with remote clients. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely go follow her. You're amazing. I love everything you share is amazing. People need to hear it. It's the truth that people need to hear. And yeah, you're doing amazing things.
Oh, thank you. I want to help as many as I can. So I'm really thankful that I'm on this journey.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing your story because, all the hard parts, all of that, people can relate to that. Everyone has a story. And I think you always see the people like, that are ahead of you on Instagram or TikTok in their wellness journey. And you're like, how could I ever feel that good? Or, and we all go through
one day at a time.
Yeah. Thank you, friend.
You're welcome.